This is from Bill Barnwell, ESPN's NFL Live, why he doesn't believe the Browns will return to the NFL playoffs this year.
Deshaun Watson may improve this year, certainly, but last year he was outplayed by Joe Flacco, who was on the couch for most of the year before Deshaun Watson was injured and he had to come in. He was better than Watson on a snap-by-snap basis, and although the Browns had a good record with Watson at quarterback, that was because the defense was playing out of its mind. It was allowing 1 point per drive, which would make them like basically the 85 Bears, and that's just tough to keep up year after year. Flacco's now gone. Bill Callahan, their excellent offensive line coach, is left for Tennessee, where he's going to coach under his son Brian. There is not a lot of offensive pieces to be excited about here.
So the thing that I don't quite understand in his rationale was the defense was better for Deshaun Watson, but it wasn't better for Joe Flacco. I don't think he thought that one through completely. It was the same defense. The defense was the reason they won with both of them. Now, relative to the comparison, I got interested and said, let's call up what each of them did. And it's pretty similar. Flacco threw for almost twice as many touchdowns. He also threw for twice as many interceptions. Watson's completion percentage was higher. They were also playing significantly better teams. Flacco beat the Jets with Simeon. He beat the Texans without C.J. Stroud. He beat the Bears. So, Jeff, this whole narrative that I'm bringing it up because I'm tired of hearing it, that Joe Flacco played so well. He played pretty well. There were positives and minuses to what Flacco did.
Well, and this is the thing, because, you basically can't, put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak. But did you think Deshaun Watson wasn't capable of winning in those games that Joe Flacco won? Like, that's the part that kind of really, blows my mind. I mean, you look, Joe came with a very consistent vertical game, which, certainly helped. And I think that is one thing that where for all the time throughout the Stefanski regime, they finally just said, let's let him go and just let him rip it. Well, there's been quarterbacks here before. Baker Mayfield's got a great deep arm. Deshaun Watson certainly has shown the ability through his career to throw the ball deep. Jacoby Brissett is a great deep ball thrower. It just seemed that they really gave that opportunity to do it with Joe. It did work out. But look, the completion percentage was lower. Like you said, I think it was like 30-something more passes that Flacco threw than Deshaun. But also that was 4 more interceptions and 30 passes more thrown. Look, Deshaun is probably the most polarizing player in the entire NFL right now. And, the only way to silence it is to go out there and put up a year like he did, when he was playing for the Houston Texans. And if he doesn't do that, people are certainly going to question it. But they talk about this stuff and nobody talks about anything else. But what's going to stop them? Pittsburgh, they've going into preseason game 3, and neither one of these guys has distinguished themselves even close to being remotely a starter. Baltimore definitely got issues on the defensive side of the ball. Cincinnati, the offense kind of looks like it's going to be all right, but they got some offensive line questions. They certainly have questions on the defensive side of the ball. So, you just pick one team and you point out negatives, but you got to remember they're playing against specifically 16 other teams within the AFC. How do they fare amongst those 16 teams? So if you're telling me you don't see them as one of the 7th best teams in the AFC, then I seriously got an issue with that.
Yeah, and again, the people want to downplay. Well, look at the touchdowns. He threw 13 with a dominant defense. The one thing you can't do is turn the damn ball over, and he did it twice as much as Watson. So let that sink in before you tell me.
And what happened in the playoff game?
2 pick sixes on back-to-back plays, which has never happened in an NFL playoff game before.